everybody? Welcome to another edition of The Drop. Greg Wyshynski, Ardal Öcal. We are here previewing round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We are presented by Xfinity. This is The Drop presented by Xfinity. Thank you, Xfinity. And thank you, this weekend of hockey action, because I am still buzzing from these Game 7s, man. They were awesome.
Well, who knew the key to success was have your best defenseman injured and your second leading scorer injured, and then that way, it's like Ewing theory. It's like they're out of the lineup, everybody steps up, and you win the Game 7. Who knew?
That's it. That
was the formula of success. So we need a bunch of Tanya Hardings out there at the ready in case there's a Game 7 to take out the best defenseman and the second leading scorer at all times.
At all times, and then that's how you win the Stanley Cup. That's
Correct.
If only we knew this entire time.
Yeah.
Let's get to winners and losers of the first round. So we're doing this which was a fantastic round of hockey, by the way.
It was.
The hockey was awesome. It was buzzing, and we have a lot to unpack. But why don't we start?
Let's talk about that for a second. The one thing I want to mention about the first round, offense, man.
Oh, a lot of
the offense was sick. Like, when you think of Game 7s, right, you don't think of 4-3 double overtime. You don't think of 4-2 like we saw in Dallas. And the scoring is up. The scoring in the regular season's up. And one of the things that we always say about hockey is, like, it's two different sports. It's regular season hockey, playoff hockey. I think we're starting to see bleed over from the regular season into the playoffs when it comes to offense.
I love it.
We're seeing goals per game over 6 now in multiple seasons. And it's an interesting trend. I hope it holds for the rest of the playoffs. But right now, the offense that we saw in the regular season is the offense that we're seeing. And by the way, the highest power play conversion rate in the playoffs since like the 80s. It's crazy.
And not just the Oilers. Wow.
And not just the Oilers, other teams as well.
Amazing.
Shout out to the Jets, by the way.
Yeah.
Getting right back in that game with the power play.
Our first winner, by the way. Exactly. The power play was clicking, but also we saw a goal with, 3 seconds left in regulation to send it to overtime. They scored 2 goals in the final minutes.
Do you mean the latest game-tying goal in the history of a Game 7?
That's what I meant.
Topping Matt Cook's record from a few years ago. It's like 20 years now. The idea that Matt Cook holds a record, by the way, that's not like number of games suspended is kind of mind-blowing. But he had the latest goal in Game 7. Cole Perfetti topped that. Lowry, St. Louis native. His dad played for the Blues, wins it in double overtime. Winnipeg was 2-25 all time in the playoffs, Arda, when trailing by multiple goals in a game, and they come back and win it. I'm still look. The Dallas thing was stunning, but plausible because they're good. I thought Winnipeg's goose was absolutely cooked in that Game 7, and yet they come back and rally and win.
And we have to give some credit to Connor Hellebuyck because we know that it's been a Jekyll and Hyde situation at home and on the road, and he did let in, some questionable goals in Game 7. But third period, overtimes, when called upon, he showed up.
He showed up. He did. He did not give up a goal in the third period or the other 2 overtimes. I will say this, though, again, I temper my praise for Connor Hellebuyck, which is to say that we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Connor Hellebuyck. If it wasn't for him getting pulled 3 times, give us one competent performance in St. Louis, and we're not even talking about Game 7. It reminds me of the Pete DeBoer is now 9-0 in Game 7s. Well, guess what? That means he sucks in Game 6. That's the reason there's all these Game 7s.
5-21 Game 6.
Yeah, he's like that's the point. Like we can faintly praise Hellebuyck's performance in this Game 7, but we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for his implosions in St. Louis.
Who's the? I'm asking my producer Justin in Cologne here. Who's the winningest NBA coach of all time? Was it Lenny Wilkins? One of the coaches. So
Don Nelson or somebody. Phil Jackson. But one of the stats is he's the winningest NBA coach of all time. He also happens to be the losingest NBA coach of all time, but we don't focus on that because that's like
he's just played the most games.
Isn't that like the Brodeur has the most wins and the most losses of all time for a goalie? Something
we
like that.
We don't focus on the losses. You know what I'm saying?
Don't.
Anyway, not important for an NHL show. Loser, Kale Makar. Why is Kale Makar a loser? How could this be, Wish?
Well, he won't be losing the Norris Trophy, but he did lose in the first round to the Dallas Stars. Look. Sure. Can we scroll through our phone and do Find Me on Kale Makar so we can locate him in the playoffs? Colorado's 4 losses to Dallas, the best defenseman in the world, according to his peers, had 0 points, skated to a -5. He had 1 shot on goal, Arda, in Game 7. Now, he had a big Game 6, but when it counted in these losses against Dallas, Kale Makar was MIA. That is inexplicable. And when Nathan MacKinnon, in his surly, sullen, I'm very unhappy thing, so expect them to win the cup next year, said, we got to be better. I mean, I'm looking at Kale Makar in this series and say, you got to be better.
Yeah, sure. And like you said, one shot on goal in Game 7. He had some great passes, but at the end of the day, I don't know if I put it squarely on him, but
no,
but certainly not the elite Kale Makar superstar.
No, I'm putting it squarely on them not re-signing Mikko Rantanen.
Which brings us to our next winner, Mikko Rantanen. Boy, that Game 7, I'm just going to go ahead and call it the Mikko Rantanen game. The Mikko Rantanen period, because he is the first player in NHL history to record back-to-back 4-point periods in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
To my friends in Denver, who've been very mad at me online because they still think that as a Devils fan, I'm angry about what happened in 2001, 24 years ago, Arda. We're still talking about that. It is absolutely true that Mikko Rantanen and his agent misjudged the market and how much he was going to make on a per-season basis as a free agent. That is true. It is also undeniable that the Colorado Avalanche decided that they weren't going to pay him more than Nathan MacKinnon, and also decided that they could find someone to do what Mikko Rantanen did at half the cost in a guy like Martin Necas. But at the end of the day, Arda, what did we see? We see that you pay the playoff performer the money he's looking for because he performs in the playoffs. First person with a hat trick in the third period of Game 7. First player with a hat trick in a Game 7 against his former team. First player with a 4-point game in Game 7 against his former team. The Mikko Rantanen revenge tour is the reason, both his absence on the Avalanche and his playing for the Dallas Stars, why Nathan MacKinnon is going to be joining his friend Sidney Crosby in Worlds rather than playing in the second round of the playoffs.
Sidney Crosby's playing in Worlds. That's cool.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is great. Give us a loser.
Loser. Jared Bednar's demons continue. We talked about Pete DeBoer with the 9-0 in Game 7s. We talk about Jared Bednar now 0-4 in Game 7s. And I believe also 0-4 against Pete DeBoer in head-to-head coaching competition. So, did he have a great playoff? Well, sure. Anytime someone shows up dressed like you behind the glass where you're standing and you have a doppelganger, that's exciting. But was it successful on the ice? Not so much.
No.
Yeah.
The doppelganger was great, by the way.
Again, the thing that I got to find out, and it kills me that I wasn't there in the press box to then run downstairs and ask the guy, because as you know, I'm the person who does go explore and hunt down the memes. I talked to the people dressed like Jango Fett at the Dallas Stars game. Remember that? I wanted to know how he knew what suit he was going to wear. Do you know this?
Well, no, but I think Elliot Friedman does. I think he actually did a report.
Love it. I got to track it down.
I did not watch the video. I think it is online. I think Elliot explained it. So we'll unpack it next show.
I was asking around to find out who let him know about the suit, and I got a text from somebody, and they said, "Don't go there, don't go there." And so I took it under advisory.
Why would you make fun? He's hockey Illuminati. Why would you make fun of him?
It's a homage.
Oh, that's what it is.
Winner.
Yeah, PWHL playoff format.
All right, let's talk about this for a second. So I goof on the pick your own opponent format all the time as a playoff concept. Other leagues have tried it. People want the NHL teams to do it. Basically, the higher seeds pick their opponents in the first round. And I've always said, Arda, why even bother with this exercise? You just know the top seed's always going to pick the lowest seed because they're cowards. They don't want to be wrong. Mm-hmm. Well, lo and behold, Montreal of the PWHL chose to face number 3 seeded Ottawa instead of number 4 seeded Minnesota. It sets up a rematch of last year's semifinal between Minnesota and Toronto, which Minnesota rallied to win. Did Montreal just choose the shorter travel? Did they think that Ottawa was a more beatable opponent? We shall see what happens, but I have to admit, it does add a level of intrigue to the first round of the Professional Women's Hockey League playoffs.
I like that. Yeah. Give us the sizzle with the steak. I like that. Speaking of the city of Ottawa, give us our loser.
Loser, Brady Tkachuk watch. Brady Tkachuk literally saying that reports of him wanting out of Ottawa are a lie.
Obviously, it's a lie. All those article stories, it's just not true.
They're a lie. Maybe the Rangers should have engaged in some hard tampering instead of soft tampering, because the moment may have passed to send in SEAL Team 6 to extract Brady Tkachuk from Ottawa. I think the worst thing that could happen to the Rangers or any team that wanted to get him is now he's happy. Now he got to feel the excitement of an Ottawa postseason. He's looking around. He sees Stützle. He sees Chabot. He sees all these people. They're all like there for the next few years. He's like, we're building something here. So I think the time to hope that he was unhappy has passed.
Speaking of tampering, have you bought your Devils Quinn Hughes jersey yet?
I have a home and an away one. Why?
Just curious. Stadium Series,
jersey.
Colorado Rockies. Why not?
Well, the problem is that I don't know what number he's going to wear because Luke wears 43.
Oh no, he's walking in and he's like, "You're giving me that number right now, and I'm not trading you for it. No dinner, no nothing."
Big brother's gonna walk in and be like, "Listen, Junior, you're gonna give me your number."
Yes, 100%.
And Luke's like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "Do it." He's like doing the arm burns on him.
That's 1,000%. There's no chance he's like, "Oh, I'll buy you a Rolex." Like, who was it? Rantanen and who was it in Carolina?
In Carolina,
oh my gosh,
who
was it? Well, whoever made the trade got
who
the Rolex.
Roslovic, I think
Jack
you're right.
Roslovic, and Jack Roslovic got a Rolex out of it for basically loaning the number out for a month.
Imagine Luke and Quinn are over in the corner, like pushing each other about the number, and Jack has to step in. Guys, why don't you
stop it, please?
Maybe one of you can be 44.
Upper body injury due to breaking up brother fight. Jack Hughes out for 2 months. No,
I'm getting all the impressions out because the playoffs are going on, but it's gonna be the end of the season at some point. We just got to get them all out of the bag now.
I'm gonna take this one. Winner, Leafs fans' psyche.
Tell me, why is it a winner? Please tell me.
So first of all, let's rewind this.
Yeah.
Because it was very much a loser going into Game 6.
Right.
Okay. I understand. Believe me, I lived through it growing up in Toronto. I understand the depths of despair that Leaf fans are going through.
Right.
They go, and then after all their history, blah, 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 we all know it. They go up 3-0 in a series against their hated Battle of Ontario rivals, the Ottawa Senators, and then they lose Game 5. And even then, Leaf fans were like, okay, you know what? It's a gentleman's sweep. It's okay. It's just one game. But then they lose Game 5.
Right.
And that's when they start burning Mitch Marner jerseys.
I saw that.
And it's like... It would not make sense for any other fan base to burn a jersey when up 3-2 in a series, no matter how we got there, except for the Leafs fan base.
And the jersey of a guy it's not his fault.
No, he was
quite
great
good in the series.
That's the best part. He wasn't even bad in the series. He's making passes where Linus Ullmark is like, where did the puck go?
Yeah.
And Austin Matthews is just shooting it in, and Linus Ullmark is looking literally 180 degrees the other way.
As we do this show, it's a few hours before the Leafs' first game against Florida. And I don't know how that series is going to turn out. I predicted Florida to win. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I'll say this, though. Like, if you're looking for signs for it being different for Toronto, look no further than closing out Game 6 against Ottawa. That is the moment. That's the point of inflection for that team, that series. They lose that game, they lose the series. You know they're not winning in 7. No. And I said to you, hiring Craig Berube was a psychological experiment to see if the guy that kept the Blues on the straight and narrow, focused, shutting out all the noise, could apply that to the most psychologically damaged franchise, maybe in professional sports at this point.
Yep.
And he did. He got him through that game. Maybe it's different. Maybe it'll be different this time. Maybe we can start planning the parade.
And I'm going to listen to Greg Wyshynski because if anyone knows about sports psychological damage, it is New York Jets fan Greg Wyshynski. So I'm going to listen to him on this one.
Oh, my God.
Loser.
I'm going to need to mull over that. You made me think about the draft. You made me think about all Aaron Rodgers. Loser, Jim Montgomery pantomiming a player diving. Now, he could be a loser for his team's inability to defend when facing an empty net at the other end. That's neither here nor there. We've seen him do this before, and it's simply just not as good as when Montgomery would do it as the Bruins coach. So, loser here for the law of diminishing returns. It's like watching, the 9th season of a sitcom. They're all going through the motions. They're doing the catchphrases. We wanted to see more from Monty in this situation.
Say the phrase. I didn't do it.
Say it.
Say it. Well, you can't win a first-round series unless you're playing, so that brings us to It's Booming, presented by Xfinity, as we take a look back at some of the booming players, moments, and everything captured in round number 1. What's booming?
Kirill Kaprizov is booming. Okay, 5 goals, 4 assists in 6 games for the Minnesota Wild. A star performance that nearly single-handedly carried them to their series victory against Vegas. Alas, they fell short. More good news, Arda. It appears Kirill Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild may be headed to a massive contract extension. He says, quote, "I love everything here. It should all be good."
Awesome.
I mean, and who wouldn't? Prince music, Juicy Lucy's, lakes.
State of hockey.
Minnesota's got everything.
Mall of America.
Mall of America.
The very first Nitro.
We're at the Mall of
Almost
America.
the Pasta Mania.
That's right.
Almost had the restaurants. I mean, what else? What else could you ask for? The former North Star.
The first Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania reference in the history of the drop. I'm surprised it took us this long.
Honestly.
Booming. William Nylander. Now, they're not burning his jersey. Why would they? He led Toronto with 9 points in 6 games against Ottawa. And here's the thing. For all the grief the core four gets for their playoff failures, Willie Stiles is tied with Mitch Marner with 37 points in the postseason since 2021 and had led Toronto in postseason goals with 18 during that span, 5 more than the much-heralded Austin Matthews. And best of all, he actually got to play Game 6. Remember, Arda, that the Leafs put down his brother Alex Nylander in the lineup instead of Willie. If it had stayed there and Ottawa discovered it, he probably would have been ineligible to play Game 6. So luckily, someone found the mistake.
Which would have been the most Leafs thing to happen.
Yes.
Right? Oh, sorry. Due to a technicality that we didn't catch before the game started, one of your star players cannot play in this game, and therefore you're going to lose this game and then subsequently Game 7.
Correct.
Right. Anyway.
Booming. Dylan Strome of the Washington Capitals, an offensive beast in the first round. Tell me, Arda, who had the best per-game points percentage for a player not named Connor McDavid in round 1?
Was it Leon Draisaitl?
No, it was actually Dylan Strome, the person I mentioned just earlier. 9 points in 5 games. And the thing about Dylan Strome that's important, he is the living and breathing example of what the Capitals have done to retool around Alex Ovechkin. He was cast away by the Chicago Blackhawks. The Capitals pounced on him, and over time, he's basically become like the new Nick Backstrom on this team with the way that he plays and the chemistry he has with Ovechkin. Time and time again, they've bought low and had blockbuster transactions, whether it's the Dubois thing or the Chychrun thing or what have you. I think Strome is representative of that, and he's also quite a good player.
Yeah, he really, really is. Booming, are we witnessing the Klingberg-assance?
We might be. The Edmonton Oilers showed a pretty remarkable amount of depth in their first-round series win against the Los Angeles Kings. John Klingberg, once considered one of the best NHL offensive defensemen during his heyday, in January, signed a 1-year deal after a lengthy rehab from a hip injury. He made his debut in Game 2 of the series against Los Angeles, and the Oil had a +3 goal differential and a +12 high-danger scoring chance differential with Klinger on the ice. We've been waiting for this guy to show some semblance of the greatness that he used to possess when he was with the Dallas Stars, and so far, so good with the Oil.
This is a good example of a Stage 5 Klinger. This is one we want on our team.
Carr, game on.
Finally, listen, we've been talking a lot about Mikko Rantanen, rightfully so, but is there anyone else on the Dallas Stars that we would classify as booming?
The boom and Jake Oettinger, folks. Jake Oettinger had an okay series. Wasn't dominant by any stretch, and in Game 6, he kind of got smoked by a bunch of offense, but when you needed him, he was there. And for all the talk about Pete DeBoer being an ace in Game 7, Jake Oettinger is now 3-1 in Game 7. His numbers are off the charts great in a Game 7. He stopped 25 of 27 shots. And most importantly, after the Dallas Stars rallied with the Rantanen stuff and the Wyatt Johnston goal, Oettinger was the last line of defense to perfection when the Avalanche and Nathan McKinnon were marauding the crease to try to find the game-tying goal.
So there you have it. It's Booming, presented by Xfinity here on The Drop. All right, the second round is upon us. As you mentioned, we are out, as we record this, we are hours away from Game 1, start of the second round.
Can you believe it?
The Leafs and the Panthers.
My God.
Well, yeah, I can't believe the Leafs are in the second round. That's why I can't believe it.
I can't believe the Panthers are there. I picked the Lightning.
Yeah, there you go. So congratulations, Leafs. You make it to the second round for the second time in 3 years, and you're facing the same team you did in the second round last time, the Florida Panthers. How do you think this series will shake out?
I like the Panthers, and the Six, as mentioned before. I mean, they really impressed me in the first round. I thought there was a chance they weren't still the Panthers. They're still the Panthers, and maybe even more so with Brad Marchand now on the roster, bringing his unique brand of whimsy to the proceedings. They're a team that can punch you in the mouth and then laugh about it. They're a team that can score a bunch of goals against you. They're a team that has 2 nominees for the Selke Trophy as best NHL defensive forward on the same line with Alexander Barkov and Sam Reinhart. And at the end of the day, if they need him, they have playoff Bob in goal. They're just so good at this. And as John Cooper, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who will not be the head coach of the Utah Hockey Club, apparently, as some of us thought was possible, said after the series, teams eventually learn how to win. The Lightning did it, and they went on to win 2 cups. The Florida Panthers did it, and you can just see they walk into every series with this air of confidence. The Ottawa Senators were not going to scare the Toronto Maple Leafs. As much as you think Game 6 was a scare, the Leafs kind of knew they were better than the Senators. I don't think that they think that they're better than the Panthers, and I think the Panthers are exactly the kind of team to light the fuse that leads to the explosion that is the Toronto Maple Leafs beating themselves.
I hear everything you're saying, and it's very logical, but it's also exactly why I'm picking Leafs in 7. Because I feel like Chief in the locker room is going to find a counter to all this.
Oh, yeah.
And Chief is going to be the guy to outsmart Paul Maurice and out-tactic him. He's going to be the Grand Admiral Thrawn of this series. He's going to study their art, their music, their habits on the ice. He's going to bring everything together.
Yes.
And devise the perfect plan to defeat the reigning Cup champions.
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's
Makes
what
sense.
I like.
I mean, that does make some sense. I will say that Paul Maurice wears glasses, so he's inherently smarter than Craig Berube for that very reason.
Foiled.
And that's why the Panthers will probably win. Okay. Let's go to the other series in the East. Who do you have in the Carolina Hurricanes versus Washington Capitals series?
Carolina in 6. Freddie Anderson back on the ice. He got injured in the series with Montreal, but he did look very good in the series with the Montreal Canadiens. If he continues, I think he'll be able to be a great backstop against the offense of the Washington Capitals. I think that Carolina, their offense woke up with the likes of Sebastian Aho. And
Svechnikov was really good last round.
Really good. So I think that the blueprint is there for them to be able to beat the Capitals, but the Capitals did look pretty scary in the first.
I picked the Caps in 7.
The Devils, sorry, not that.
Yeah, I picked the Caps in 7 because, I mean, I'm endlessly impressed with Spencer Carberry and the way that he has this team playing. I think they have as good or maybe better goaltending than Carolina, especially if you consider Freddie Anderson's bouts with being in and out of the lineup sometimes. I also think that Carolina's advantage on the penalty kill, which was really the biggest reason besides the injuries to the Devils' blue line that New Jersey went away so meekly in the first round. The Caps scored 4 power play goals against them, I think, in 13 chances in the regular season. And when you have Alex Ovechkin on your power play, that's probably going to happen. So I don't think it's as big of an advantage for Carolina there. You look inside the numbers, under the hood, the analytics, these are 2 teams that are pretty evenly matched to 5-on-5. They both play really well at home. The Capitals have one more home game than does Carolina because of their regular season success. And for that very reason, I will take them in 7.
Okay. I said Carolina in 6.
Correct.
That I could be swayed in that series. I cannot be swayed in this one, though. Edmonton and Vegas, I'm picking Edmonton in 6. I am not betting against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl ever again.
There you go.
I'm just not.
It's
not happening.
You and I, a couple of Daniel Play views, we are oil men. And the reason why for me is we mentioned this in the Klingberg segment earlier. I was unfamiliar with your depth, Edmonton Oilers. I was really impressed with how much they got out of the rest of that lineup against the LA Kings. Now, granted, it's the Kings. They can't beat the Oilers in the first round 4 years running. It's the Kings. Their coach makes asinine decisions left and right, including that coach's challenge in Game 3 that basically lost the game for them and refusing to play his depth in the series. But I thought the Oilers looked top to bottom more impressive than they looked during the regular season. And like you said, at the end of the day, it is Vegas's defense, their physicality against the Oilers, Draisaitl and McDavid. And I was thinking Vegas until I watched Adin Hill in the first round. He had a very good closeout game against Minnesota, so maybe the tide is turning, but he was not up to snuff. He was not good enough to where I'm like, he's going to be able to withstand the Connor and Leon of it all in this series.
Put it this way. Kaprizov and Boldy were humming. They were clicking in that series. They were able to solve Adin Hill fairly consistently.
Right.
What do you think Draisaitl and McDavid are going to do?
If Timu Draisaitl and McDavid could do that against the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, what are the real ones going to do?
That's harsh. That's harsh for Kaprizov.
But I
get what you're saying.
Home ice for the Knights. They do have a great defense. I just feel like they were a little bit leaky against Minnesota, and you can't be leaky there.
Dallas at Winnipeg.
I am taking Dallas in 6. Due respect to the Jets. I mean, that was an amazing victory. It could be something that launches them to their, cup championship kind of thing. Who knows? Hellebuck could get his act together in the second round. By the way, maybe winner of this round gets the USA crease in Italy between Oettinger and Hellebuck. Should we just do that?
Yeah.
But Dallas is getting back. They're probably getting Robertson back. I think they've defeated their toughest opponent on the way to the Cup in Colorado. I like him in 6.
All right, so those are the teams that are moving on to the second round. What about the ones that
who are you taking? You took Dallas?
Oh, yeah, I have Dallas too. Yeah,
Dallas in 7?
Yeah. Okay. And I like that idea. So congratulations, Jake Oettinger, for being your starter for Team USA at the Olympics. So we decided we should also do a Happy Trails thought or two on the teams that were eliminated in the first round. But rather than whistle a song and rather than, just do a panic-o-meter, things like that, we decided, listen, maybe we should pick the Scoville scale. If you're not familiar with it, that is the scale that is where the hottest peppers in the world are ranked and rated. If you see people eating those hottest chips in the world, it's ranked on the Scoville scale of spice and hotness. So we're going to go, our spice levels are no spice, mild, medium, hot, and extra hot for how much despair there is for a team that was eliminated in the first round of these Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay.
Let's start with your beloved New Jersey Devils.
I'm going to go medium hot for the Devils. I think there are some questions about the team supporting cast. I do think that there aren't many questions about Jacob Markstrom. I think Tom Fitzgerald, their GM, could be pretty happy about that. But overall, there's plausible deniability about their loss in the first round. Jack Hughes being out and their entire defense being decimated by injuries by the end of the series. They've got work to do. They shouldn't be happy about any of this, but it's hard to really judge them too harshly with Jack Hughes out of the lineup.
I'd go one above mild. Honestly, I agree with you. I think that plausible deniability is extremely high.
Yeah.
It's as high as it can be.
Yeah.
No Jack Hughes and all the injuries. You're like, yeah, okay, look, you lost, but
right.
That's tough.
Yeah.
The Montreal Canadiens.
No spice. They're like a rice cake. Just a lack of spice. Their Stanley Cup was emerging from the toxic dump that was the Eastern Conference bubble. That's their championship. Okay. You give them a ring for that. Hang up another banner in Bell Center. They gave the Capitals a mild scare, but most importantly, they gave their young players valuable playoff experience. So this is not even a scintilla of spice, bland as can be. Montreal.
I'm not even getting Cool Ranch or nacho cheese Doritos. I'm getting plain tortillas.
You're getting the bag they come in. That's how bland we're talking right now.
Okay. 0. Not a single added. Okay, got it. No additives whatsoever. The Ottawa Senators. Mild?
I would go mild. Again, the Senators could feel pretty good about a return to the playoffs. They could feel pretty good about Linus Ullmark. They could feel pretty good about a lot of it. They couldn't get the Leafs to the point where they were beating themselves. But I think overall pretty happy, although I'm sure there are probably some people in the organization bitter that they couldn't knock out the Leafs.
All right, so those are back-to-back milds. I'm assuming it's the opposite here, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, that's extra hot, folks.
Woo!
Get a pitcher of milk and some ointment ready because, it was the Stanley Cup champion Panthers. We get that. But to lose in 5 games to your arch rival, to have Nikita Kucherov do absolutely nothing in the face of the physicality from the Florida Panthers, to be a non-factor, to have the promising roster that they did, to be a year older after this. It's kind of the window is still there, but they've got to jump through it, and they couldn't do it against the Panthers. So I think there's a lot of pressure on this organization to figure out what went wrong and how to get it right next year.
Maybe the hottest on the Scoville scale would be the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Wild.
To the surprise of no one, you take Wild, you flip the W, you get mild. That's where they are. They can't be happy with having been a 2-man team against the Vegas Golden Knights, but they can be happy in knowing that Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov are the two that they can build around for the next several seasons. I think they're kind of on the right track. They still need some help in the middle, but they know what they have in Kaprizov and Boldy. So I would say mild for the Wild.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. Finally, so before we go to the Colorado Avalanche,
okay,
I just want to add this for maybe even a little bit of extra spice.
All right.
Here's what Nathan MacKinnon had to say after being eliminated in Game 7.
They were missing their best D and maybe their best forward, so we still couldn't beat them. So, yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do.
All right, so that to describe it, pretty blunt.
Yeah, I love when Nate loses. He's always great. It was awkward to see him as happy as he was when they won the cup. This is, we've had mild, we've had medium, we've had extra hot. This is the kind of hot where you have to sign a waiver before you eat the chip. Okay, that's how hot we're talking about with the Colorado Avalanche. All the stars. They had Gabe Landeskog come back for the first time in several seasons, and they couldn't even ride that wave of momentum. All the expectations, and they couldn't beat a team that was down their second best scorer and best defenseman. I agree with Nathan MacKinnon. Something's got to change, and there is enormous pressure on this team because they went all in. They nuked their goaltenders. They had a huge trade deadline, and all of it led to a first-round elimination.
Yeah, that's tough. So I agree. They have to sign a waiver. Now, I don't know if the Los Angeles Kings will need to sign a waiver, but the way I would think is you just keep ordering the hottest wing possible at the restaurant every single time you go to the restaurant, and you know what's coming,
right?
And you know it's going to be hot, but it just hits you in the face every single time.
And for 4 straight seasons, they've had the atomic wing. And for 4 straight seasons, they're in tiers. So many tiers, in fact, many more now that Rob Blake, their general manager, will not be bought back. His contract expired. They weren't going to bring him back. That makes you wonder what's going to happen to Jim Hiller as their head coach. He has 2 years of term left on his deal. Extra hot offseason for the LA Kings, and one that has already produced massive change.
Finally, the St. Louis Blues.
We're going to end on a big, huge note. Mild. It's mild. I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. They got to a Game 7. It didn't work out. They got the coach they want. I think they saw some real progress from some of their younger players as well. They're going to be a contender next year. And Doug Armstrong's going to be hella aggressive again in the offseason like he was with the 2 offer sheets last year. So, we built to a whimper. Mild. For the St. Louis Blues.
I'm going to take ownership of that. I should have ended on the Avalanche. I should have waited for that.
It's not your fault.
I should have saved that and saved.
There's a certain chronology to it. The Blues are the last one out.
You don't just start with the atomic wing. You're right. Like we should have started mild. It's like the what's the wing show called? First
Hot Ones.
Hot Ones. They don't just start with the hottest sauce.
Oh, that'd be really funny if they did.
Right away.
Someone's there to
thanks for being here.
Yeah, like. So what was it like to work on this movie? Well, and then they just died. They just set it themselves on fire.
And then Conan O'Brien is yammering and I told you this would be the problem. So yelling and screaming. All right, that does it for us here on the Drop presented by Xfinity. Enjoy the second round of the playoffs. Last thing I want to say though is that we will be back. Producer Justin, we have shows next week. We have a show next week and the week after that. And we will, beyond that, have more shows throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's very exciting.
It's extremely exciting. I'll be hitting the road soon. I'll be at the draft lottery if you're seeing this on whenever. I hope it went well.
You're going to be in the room. Are you going to pick the table tennis ball? Are you going to be the one? It's going to be live, apparently. Are you going to be the one to pick the ball?
I will actually be inside the machine. It's a large machine they're using. And I'm just going to be they're going to be like, Greg, can you tell us what's happening? The balls are flying around. I'm a little bit worried. They didn't give me any goggles.
He's just getting smacked by ping pong balls over. God, get me out of here. This is like a hurricane simulator.
I was told there'd be money in here. I was trying to grab it at first, but it turns out they're very high-velocity tennis balls.
Yeah. Wish thought he was a contestant on The Price is Right. Instead, he's stuck in the machine forever. Thanks for watching The Drop presented by Xfinity. We'll see you next time.
Bye.